Reflections on the Good News of Jesus Christ for the Feast of the Epiphany from the Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star at its rising and have come to do him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was greatly troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it has been written through the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word, that I too may go and do him homage." After their audience with the king, they set out. And the star that they had seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and on entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed from their country by another way. The good news of the Lord. Magi? An earlier translation is astrologers. No, not the ones who write newspaper columns or internet blogs, but the ones who tried to discern the future by studying the movements of the stars and the planets. We're not so comfortable with the thought of Jesus being visited by astrologers, so long ago we decided to call them wise men or kings. Although there is no mention in the text of them being kings, nor is there any mention of how many of them there were. We imagine 3 because of the mention of 3 gifts. But medieval Christians found reason to believe in as many as 17 kings, and they all had names. The 3 that we have held on to are Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. That's okay. You can have a lot of fun with this story. It's a drama that captures the imagination. Whoever and however many there were, they came from the East. That's scriptural code language for a mysterious, unknown land. Matthew's way of showing that Jesus came for all people, the whole world, and not to be any one group's private possession, which is a great disappointment to some groups today. We do not have a private God. We are sisters and brothers of the whole human race. So, when you celebrate at liturgy, you are in union with people of every race and color and nationality and ethnicity around the world. It is not simply a private audience, Jesus. There is something delightful about this Feast of Epiphany. Yes, but there's also something dangerous. The delightful part is easy to see. It is the Christmas story, now expanded to include wise men and camels, a star, precious gifts. There's even an opera based on this story, Amal and the Night Visitors by Giancarlo Menotti, the story of the kings who, following the star, stopped for the night at the house of a poor widow and her crippled son. When Amal learns of the king's destination, and sees their expensive gifts, he wants to give a gift to the Christ child too. But all he has is his crutch. And in a moment of impulsive generosity, he decides to send that since, as he says, who knows, he may need one, and this I made myself. He steps forward to give the crutch to the kings and discovers that he can walk. In making the gift, he has been healed. It is a delightful feast, yes, but dangerous? Oh, indeed, yes. The danger is that we may see this feast, and perhaps the entire Christmas season along with it, as only a touching story, a children's story, something that tugs at our hearts and our memories, but that finally is meant to be packed away with the tinsel and ornaments for another year. The danger is that we may miss the deeper meanings of the story, meanings that can speak to us who are adults. These wise men, why were they searching? Doesn't being wise mean you found what is important and meaningful? No. They were wise enough to have learned that the goal of life is not a goal. It is a journey. Have you noticed how many journeys these Christmas stories contain? Mary goes to Elizabeth in the hill country of Judea. Joseph and Mary go from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Joseph, Mary, and Jesus go from Bethlehem to Egypt, and then from Egypt to Nazareth. Joseph, Mary, and Jesus go to Jerusalem for his presentation in the temple. And today, we learn of the wise men coming from the east to Jerusalem, and then to Bethlehem, and then returning to their own country by a different route. Do you see the pattern here? The goal of life, these stories are telling us, is not to arrive, to make it, but to continue the journey of faith throughout the whole of our lives. Not necessarily a geographical journey, but a journey of discovery and loss, joy and tears, even mystery and darkness, trusting that it is always God who is leading us. Darkness. Did you notice how much the readings talk about the dark night on this Epiphany, which is the very feast of the manifestation of the light of Christ? It's because God's light only comes to us thoroughly mingled with the grubby reality of human life. Why else did God come as an infant? The Christ did not arrive to erase our troubles, but to join us in them, to be a quiet light in our darkness, not a blinding replacement for the dark. So we have to be like the wise men. We have to have our own puzzling, sleepless nights. We have to search and not rest until we see the light as God chooses to reveal it in our lives. But it is often not an easy search. Why? For one thing, it's because our culture no longer carries the faith and the church. Simply put, not that many years ago, we knew how to be believers and churchgoers when we lived inside communities that helped carry that for us, communities within which most everyone seemed to believe. Most everyone went to church, and most everyone had the same set of moral values. Not incidentally, these communities were often immigrant, poor, undereducated, and culturally marginalized. In that type of setting, quite frankly, faith and church work more easily. Why? Because, among other reasons, as Jesus said, it is hard for the rich to enter the kingdom of God. The rich, however large or small their income, are those people who think they are managing life pretty well on their own. So They don't see much need for Jesus, the church, or the kingdom of God. To be committed believers today, to have faith that truly gives direction to our lives, requires finding an inner anchor beyond the support and security we might have found in being part of the majority, in which we have the comfort of knowing that since everyone else is doing this, it probably makes sense. Many of us now live in situations where to believe in God and church is to find ourselves without the support of the majority, and at times without the support even of those closest to us, spouse, family, friends, colleagues. But what is this deep inner anchor that is needed to sustain us? What can give us the support we need? What can help sustain our faith when we feel like we're part of a shrinking minority is an inner center of strength, meaning, and affectivity that is rooted in something beyond what the world thinks and what the majority are doing on any given day. There has to be a source deeper than outside affirmation to give us meaning, justification, and energy to continue to do what faith asks of us. How to find that source? It depends a lot on following the right star. The wise men were guided by the world's first GPS. What star are you following? What are you relying on to give guidance, meaning, and purpose to your life? Is it doing the job? Will it get you to the goal you really desire? This feast of the Epiphany is about much more than wise men, camels, and precious gifts. Before you pack up the Christmas season and store it away for another year, give yourself this gift. Take a few minutes to ask, what star am I following? And if I'm not sure, or think maybe I'm not following the right one, then what? Well, if you're looking for the right star, first you have to enter the darkness of night, whatever that might mean in your life. God is always apparent, but God is also always present, even when God is not apparent, even in the darkness. That's where light shines best, in the darkness. Christ the light has been born for us. Look for his light, his star, in your darkness. Thanks for listening. Please feel free to share this with others if you wish, and consider subscribing at our website, www.justanother.disciple.com. Once again, www.justanother.disciple.com. Thanks very much, and Happy New Year.